Nigel, are you there? Can everybody see the presentation?
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Bollocks. Right, all ready?
We're all ready, Nigel.
Okay, so welcome back. Thank you very much for all coming back. Now, usual thing, if you could turn off your videos and microphones, that would be brilliant. So during this session, all right, if you have any questions, any observations, anything that you'd like to question our presenter about, then please type it into the chat. That's what we're looking for you to do, and we'll try and answer them as we go through. Now, in theory, you should see two people on your screen. You should see Nathan, who's just there. I think we just saw a bit of Jane come in there as well on the side there, and myself. Hello, there she is. So, as I said, if we could keep things to typing any questions you have in the chat, and I will try and pick up those questions. Essentially, good afternoon to you all. This is our cultural event today, and we're going to look at the innovation of sushi. We have Nathaniel Levy here, who's going to talk to us about sushi. Thank you for coming, by the way, Nathaniel. Now, Nathaniel started his passion about food when he was about 7. Is that right? Or was it earlier?
No, it was when I was 7, I just used to help my mum and dad cut up some vegetables. But I cooked my first meal alone when I was about 11, and then it took off when I was about 15, when I cooked every meal for myself, basically.
Oh, brilliant. So about 7, and you've recently started a home-based business taking online orders for sushi called Drunk Cat.
That's right.
Like, I expect there's a bit of a story behind that name. So
Yeah.
I'm going to start with that question with you. Why Drunk Cat?
So I decided on the name over a few days. As a lot of you know, my cat and Jane's cat is a huge source of inspiration to us, and I really wanted a name which could stick in your mind, which was memorable but wasn't limited to one form of cuisine. So I'm starting off with sushi, though I'm passionate about many forms of cuisine from different areas of the world, and I want to be able to incorporate that later on as the business grows. So I didn't want to limit myself, basically, and I wanted something that really stuck in your mind.
Brilliant. Okay.
And I particularly enjoy drunk food, so it's to do with that.
Is that the food is drunk or you're drunk? Okay, we won't go into that one at this moment in time. So have you got any tools that in front of you at the moment that you want to share with us to show us what good ideas, what we need if we want to make things later on, or will you show that to us later?
I can show you quickly now.
Go on, if you've got some.
Making sushi can be quite easy. Basically, all you really need is some. Actually, you only really need a good pair of hands, really. There's many different types of sushi. For the sushi that I'm going to be focusing on today, you're going to need some nori sheets, which is a seaweed. And I'll show you how to make it with just hands and the traditional method with a rolling mat. And those are the key things that you'll need, and a knife if you want to have nice, even portions.
Okay, so essentially then we need nice clean surface, some seaweed if we want to roll it up, some rice, I assume, somewhere, right? But a bamboo rolly thing But I thought, what's that called?
I believe it's makimono. I think it's
A
called.
makimono. Okay. Okay. A makimono. Okay. Okay. So that's the basic tools that we need. Not too much. I think I can find that in my kitchen. So what's the origins of sushi?
Right. So actually, sushi, the name actually means sour rice. It has nothing to do with the fish in the actual name itself. And the earliest origins of sushi actually originate from China in the method of preserving the fish in rice. So it started in China around the 5th century BC. It moved over into Japan in the 2nd century, where it was called narazushi, which is it's a fish fermented with its eggs inside in very salty cooked rice, and it's fermented for weeks because there was no refrigeration, and it would be eaten sort of as a delicacy for the middle class to upper class, because the poor people couldn't afford to throw away the rice. But as time went on, it became more and more popular, and the poor people decided they wanted in on this, but they reduced the fermentation time and started eating the rice as well, so they wouldn't waste anything. And that's how the earliest forms of sushi came about. When rice vinegar was invented, they started using that to increase the rate of the fermentation process, and then they could really cut down the time, make the process cheaper and fresher, and then sort of sushi as we know it came about at the end of the Tokugawa shogunate around 1850. That was when there was a huge industrialization of Japan, particularly in what was known as Edo, which is now Tokyo. And that basically Kyoto, which was the capital, that was the largest city, but it wasn't applicable. It wasn't very good for trade because it wasn't along the coast. It's right in the center of the island. So Edo, which is Tokyo, it's a big, nice sheltered bay, lots of sea nearby. And because the Tokugawa shogunate practiced isolationism, as soon as that was over at the beginning of the Meiji period in 1868, that's when lots of trade came in. Tokyo massively increased its population, so there's loads of merchants coming in and out. Merchants get very hungry. Fish comes in every day. So sushi originally came off like the nigiri, like this, but sort of this size. It was meant to be eaten as a hand food, and originally in that modern form of Edomae sushi, it was pickled fish because they had no refrigeration. But then sushi as we know it came about in the early 1920s with the advent of refrigeration.
So what we've got is innovation based upon cultures coming together, when they increase their trade. We've got innovation based upon people running behind you. Innovation based upon just the simple idea of moving it from one market to another and making it so that market could now make it accessible, make it something that they could have on a daily basis, etc.
Exactly.
It's essentially it. So obviously I'm emphasizing the innovation part because that's what this whole conference is about. So it's important to... Sorry,
I just want to jump in quickly. The innovation is actually the key to the sushi's popularity, because at every stage there are key innovations. So the use of sushi rice, there's a large explosion of popularity, which made it more popular in Japan. Then with the innovations of the industrialization of Japan, and the idea of selling it at market stalls to merchants with the new steamboats that can bring in fish very fresh and on a daily basis, that's when they started using those fish. Again, an explosion of popularity across Japan, and it started being involved with other cultures. Then with refrigeration, that's when it really took off. So that's when it started becoming a very common food for Japanese to eat, rather than just something that they'd have once or twice a year for very specific people, which were merchants or traders in the Edo Bay. So each stage, the innovation of different technologies and methods of using this product really massively increased its popularity.
We saw when Chinese food went to America, and when Indian food.
You muted your mic, man.
Sorry, can't hear you.
Okay, somebody unfortunately hit the mute button there. What I was saying was, we have all this innovation taking place, but we have this thing about when Chinese food came to America, we saw new dishes that didn't really exist in China. Indian dishes, when they came to the UK, changed as well because we didn't have all the spices available at that time when they first arrived. Do we see the same thing? Can we be careful of muting the mic, guys, that are looking after the technical issues? You're clicking on me. It's probably to do when you're admitting people. Just be careful, please. Thank you. So what we had there was no spices in the UK, new dishes coming in. What has been the effect on sushi? Has that had the same issues as it's gone around the world?
Actually, yeah, the sushi is very, very different in different cultures. So the Japanese style of sushi is really, really simple, basic. They really appreciate like it would be fish on rice or fish rice with the seaweed. But in modern or in Western cultures, I should say, they prefer things like mayonnaise and avocado, like a California roll. That's just avocado with the crab stick inside. That's really a Western thing. They do not eat that in Japan at all. It's a really uncommon thing to eat. And so I would definitely say, yeah, there are lots of things which, even though the sushi is thought of as a Japanese food, what we eat as sushi in the UK, at least, is not traditional.
Okay. So on that basis, then, what would you say was sushi? What is actual sushi? What really is sushi?
Well, I think it's whatever you enjoy it to be, as long as it has that seasoned rice. That's really the key. You don't need even raw fish, even though that's what comes to mind. That's what I enjoy the most. But as long as it's seasoned rice with some sort of topping, to me, that's sushi. And as long as you enjoy it, then that's fine.
Okay. So what was your first dish then? What was the first sushi you had? What did your mother let you have?
It was tuna maki, the traditional Japanese style. Actually, I had that in a Japanese restaurant nearby. Yeah, wasn't such a fan at the beginning, to be honest. I was really quite finicky with fish when I was younger, but as I grew older, I appreciated it more and more, and I explored.
But you've also lived in Japan, so was there something out there that you particularly liked?
Oh man, there were so many unique things in Japan that they put on sushi that you wouldn't expect. One thing which I really enjoyed was corn mayo maki, which I'll be making today. So that's just corn mayo roll, and you'd think that wasn't a particularly Japanese thing, but it tastes so good, and it works so well with sushi. And it's all small things like that, things that you wouldn't consider as Japanese, but Japanese are quite open with trying new things. It's kind of Japan's an interesting culture because they mix tradition with innovation, really. And there's one half of it is really traditional and quite ritualistic, and the other half is trying new things and seeing what will stick, you know?
Okay. So how many different types of sushi are there?
Wow. There are a lot of different types. There are variations.
Try for the main types, because we haven't got all day.
Sorry. Okay, so the main types will be nigiri. That's this type, just piece of fish on some rice, hand formed. Maki, which is the roll. Futomaki, which is a fat roll, essentially. You have oshizushi, which is pressed sushi, and temaki, which is the sort of the cones. Those are the most common types, definitely.
Right. Okay. And we pretty well see those anywhere in the world.
Yeah, other than Oshizushi, you'll see them in most places. Yeah.
Anything really wild and exciting and exotic that we probably would only see in Japan? I'm currently thinking of the thing that could kill me with the blowfish.
Yeah, they call that fugu. Yeah, you need a license to prepare it in Japan, and not anybody can even purchase it because it's so dangerous. But that's definitely something that will be rare, probably exceedingly rare to find in any other country but Japan. And the other thing would be natto, which is fermented soybeans. It's excessively stringy and mucus. It's mucusy, it really gums up in your mouth, and it's very cheesy in smell. I've got some. I might show you guys later.
But we haven't got smell-o-vision, unfortunately.
No, but
I think it's like kumchi. Is it like kumchi?
No.
No, it's not. Okay.
No, I'll show you later.
Okay, thank you. That would be nice. Right. Okay. Sorry. Condiments. What's that green stuff that I always get with my sushi when I see it there? The stuff that blows my head off.
So that is it's called wasabi. Though commercially, what you normally will be eating will be horseradish with a token amount of wasabi in, so they can call it wasabi. The wasabi is the traditional condiment, which is a root vegetable in the horseradish family, and it's very spicy, but not in the traditional way. I'm not sure if people in the chat have tried it. Let us know if you have, or if it's common in your country, or if sushi's common in your country. But that's the traditional accompaniment. In fact, the original nigiri would just have a piece of wasabi on the rice and then the fish on top, and that would be all.
Yeah.
Also, soy sauce is the most popular condiment, I would say. That's fermented soybeans with lots and lots of salt, pressed in these big burlap sacks to get out this really dark brown, like gold dust liquid. It's fantastic.
Well, at the moment, I'm being told that there's a lot of sushi restaurants in Morocco, and they love it.
Awesome.
And they've tried it a lot, so that's interesting in itself. But isn't there something special about how the wasabi is grown?
Oh yeah, so the traditional wasabi, as of before maybe 15 or so years ago, all of the wasabi that you would have bought, which was authentic wasabi in the high-end sushi restaurants, would have been wild foraged, because it's always been extremely difficult to grow, and it just doesn't reproduce in commercial environments. However, a massive innovation actually by an American watercress farmer. He discovered a way of growing sushi at his farm commercially, growing wasabi. Yeah, because they require very specific temperature ranges between maybe 10 degrees of a range, with a specific amount of shade, with a very rocky soil, with plenty of running water, which is highly oxygenated. So they're really finicky, and he managed to do it on his watercress farm, and it's just exploded since then.
So there's probably some sort of hydroponics involved.
Yeah, it's not quite as I guess industrialized as that, but there's lots of these rows of rocky mounds with these artificial streams running between them.
Okay.
Yeah,
That'd be lovely to see some more pictures of that at some point. I know you sent me some. I haven't been able to get them all together, but thank you for that.
Okay.
But so we've got the wasabi. We've got our sushi. We've got our soya. Have we got any other things that we need? I mean, what's the name of your company again?
It's Drunk Cat. You can find me on Facebook if you want. Sorry, this is my this is my girlfriend.
Now we have a real expert.
Yeah, she's a real expert. Yeah. So,
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for coming along and telling him how to do it.
Yeah.
You have to teach him every day, I expect.
Yeah. One other thing, there is another condiment that's eaten with sushi. It's called gari. It's pickled ginger, and that's typically eaten actually as a refresher. So it cleanses your palate in between the different courses of sushi, so you can really experience the full flavor of each dish. So that's the other most common thing that you'll eat with it.
So that goes between the dishes. See, I always thought it went with them because I like ginger, so I've always enjoyed eating the pickled ginger as such. But I, you know, and it's always pink. It's not sort of like the yellowy orange dark color. I always say that one's always a pinky color. It's so much nicer and more interesting. But it's between the food.
That's the traditional way, yeah. But look, you can eat it however you like it. I'm not a purist. You eat it how you see fit.
But yeah, but there's always a reason. Well, yeah, but there's always a reason for these things, and yeah, okay. I will try it next time and see how it goes, right, and see what happens. So we know how to grow our wasabi. We've got all this going on with our condiments. I think it's time. Do you think our teams can probably make their own sushi tonight? Can they get all the ingredients locally? Do you expect?
The rice, depending, you should be able to find some in an East Asian shop. The rice is probably the difficult part, and the nori. But anything else, you can do it at home, or any of the other ingredients, however whatever you want inside, put it in. But yeah, as long as you find the correct rice, which is short grain or medium grain at a push, and the nori.
I'm just asked, it can cause any kind of allergic reaction. That's what's being asked there. Do you know of any? It'll be something you would already know about, wouldn't it, if you had a reaction to rice per se?
Yeah,
but there may be other things.
Obviously, shellfish allergies. If you have a shellfish allergy, avoid any shellfish sushi. If you're allergic to the compound, it's called trimethylamine, which makes fish smell like fish. If you're allergic to that, avoid the strong flavored fish like a mackerel or anything fermented. Avoid them. But other than that, the base, I'm not familiar with nori, which is the seaweed, being a particularly allergy-inducing food. And as long as you can eat those two, you should be fine making some kind of combination that suits you.
Yeah, but of course you don't have to have the seaweed on the outside. You can make one without it if you want. As you said, as long as you come up with the appropriate ingredients and form it in your hands and eat it and enjoy it. That's what it comes down to.
It is.
Well, at this point, we're going to go a little bit quiet on you while you go and prepare what you're going to do. So you clear out your space. But what I'm going to do is just share a little screen with everyone, and I'm going to ask you to put some information in the actual chat while Nate prepares that there. So all we want you to do is just literally think about what Nate has just told you about, and what we want you to do is think about the national dish or regional dish of your home country. Yesterday in Wales, you were told about Welsh cakes, right? And another one we could have told you about was cawl, and that's a traditional Welsh basically stew, I suppose the best way of calling it, where it's a mixture of a meat with certain vegetables, making cawl. But we also have a thing called lava bread. And lava bread is basically seaweed. It gets mixed with some oats, etc. And it makes an interesting complement to, well, if I have it, and I don't have it that often, but I would have it with bacon, because I like the taste of bacon in the first place. But it's still that idea that you could have this lava bread. So just for a few seconds there, think about what is your national dish, what or regional dish, or what your country is known for, and then type it in the box there for us in the chat area. I'm just going to stop sharing that now. This is when it gets awkward, when you're working on multiple screens and you need to stop sharing things. There we go. So what have we got? Rice and curries. Okay. Rice, curry. Any particular curry? Must be a regional curry. Sri Lankan rice and curries. Yeah. You got some interesting pickles though that go with your curries. You got some strange little fruits in Sri Lanka that really make some nice curry. Oh, I can't. Oh, Kashi? What's Kashi? Egypt. That's some interesting stuff coming up from Egypt there. I haven't heard of those ones before. Yeah, Tangier, mussels and fries. Oh, that sounds nice. I like the sound of that one. Okay. Right. I'm going to ask Mahmood, who's just brought up about Koshi and Molaka. Could you tell us what they actually are? What are they made of?
Molokhia is a type of plant like what I don't know what's like, but it's a tall plant that is cut and then put in oil with what don't know. I don't know. Well,
You enjoy it, but you don't know what it's made of.
I love Molokhia. I just have to say, I love it.
It's like a special kind of plant, Nigel. It's not spinach. We don't have it here in the UK so much, and
Right.
you make it into a soup. Is that right?
yeah,
and we ask first.
Yes.
Go on. One of you can speak. I don't mind.
We have
learning.
koshari too. It's made of macarona and hummus, if you know it. Rice with I don't know.
But tomato sauce, some tomato
But you
sauce
can-
and thyme.
Tomato sauce and thyme. Did I hear that?
Yes,
Yes.
tomato pasties.
Oh, right. Oh, lovely. Okay, there's something I got to look forward to in the future. Okay. Oh, we had an interesting one. Is this from Sicily? Deep fried rice balls with mozzarella cheese.
It's called arancini, and it's like deep fried rice balls. And in the center of it, you have like gooey mozzarella cheese, and you can add jalapenos or whatever you want to add, or even meat. But this is like the most famous one in Sicily.
Right.
I love arancini as well. I just want to say.
See, international cuisine is enjoyed by so many people. Sri Lanka, what have we got here? Oh, coconut milk. Yeah, in the curry. Yeah. Now it's interesting where some you've mentioned about vegetarians there, and there are a lot of vegetarians in the world, obviously. But just lately, we've been getting a lot more about vegan and veganism. And that goes beyond your ordinary vegetarian to exclude a lot of other things, but it still can be really nice and also really bad. It all depends how good your cook is. So we're hopefully about to see some really good stuff coming from Nate here that we can enjoy going home tonight and making. What's a pork po sabble? Pork po sabble? Po sabble? Sri Lanka again. Now, is that a compliment? Is that is it a pickle to go on the side, or is it a particular dish? Go on, turn your mic on. Tell us. Somebody else from Sri Lanka able to tell us what it is? The pole sam bowl, made out of coconut.
I think, Nigel, I think it's a condiment, and it looks like coconut, and you put it on your curries, I think.
Yeah, I think I've had it a few times first thing in the morning.
Hi.
Yeah, sprinkle it over the top. Go for it.
Hi, Nigel. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. To talk about coconut sambal. Oh, you very difficult to say for sambal, right? Coconut sambal.
Broke up a
Will you
little
give me
bit
some
there.
time to talk about it?
Keep going.
Okay, I'm Niluka. Hi, I'm Niluka from Sri Lanka, attached to ICBT. If you give me some time, we'll talk about coconut sambal.
Yep, go.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so with me, I have my colleague Shafir. Hi, Shafir. You are there with us, right?
Yes.
Okay, Shafir. Okay, Shafir. Now, you know, Sri Lankans, we are more into spices. And so this is now coconut sambal is made out of coconut. It's very easy to make. It takes only like 10 minutes to make coconut sambal for us. An instant food, which is good for this busy lifestyle. And you know, our main food is rice and curry. We are based on spices. So even with rice, we can only have coconut sambal as the curry. So that's the advantage. If you are interested to know, I'll talk about the way of making it.
Ooh, we better not go for making it today unless it takes
No.
2 minutes. It takes
Yes.
2 minutes, we'll go for it.
Okay.
Go on.
What you
Yeah.
need is yes, Shafir.
Yeah, Nigel, the
Yep.
thing is it okay if I can share my screen just talk about these things?
Yes, go on,
Because
then.
and also,
Yeah, no, I'd be happy with that. Go on.
yeah, okay.
Let's see if we can hold this, you know, share that screen for a few minutes. That'll be fine. You come up with it.
I hope you can see my screen, right?
Not quite yet. It's on its way. It's not quite there yet. Just gone very
Not
dark
yet,
at the moment.
Yeah.
Not yet, Shafir.
Not yet. Traditional food. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I just want to just
Did you
explain
prepare
about the
this
Sri Lanka.
beforehand?
Sorry.
This looks really good. You prepared this beforehand. This looks really good.
Yeah, you can try. You can have a visit to Sri Lanka and you can have a try on these things.
Yeah. Well, I can see the hoppers.
Yeah, and
Go on,
and then you can see.
You better explain what you've got there.
The thing is, mostly we are like the string hoppers, and especially our main dish are rice and curry. And the next thing is one of the most, it's come our national food, right? Milk rice.
Yes.
That's the one in the bottom left-hand corner.
Yeah, this corner you can find.
Yeah, hold on.
And the next thing is one of the most famous another food, another curry item, which is we call that one as a polos curry, which is made out of jackfruit.
Of course, jackfruit. Yes.
Right, and then I'll move to the traditional, that one of the most famous, because almost every day we try this one. Right, we call this one as a sambal.
Sambal, yeah.
Right, and then you can just try the pol sambal with any kind of food. That is one of the main thing, because in Sri Lanka, even if you are having rice, you can try the pol sambal. Even if you are eating bread, and even if you are eating French bread, right, or else in the garlic bread, you can try the pol sambal, or the next item we call that one as a sini sambal.
Sini, right?
Right,
yeah.
And it's like it's one of the main only equipment which we need. We need knife and we need a grinding stone.
Yes.
Ah, right. Okay.
Right. And is it okay if I play? There are 2 videos available. Is it okay to play that one?
I think we'll have to hold off on the videos purely because I am conscious that Nathan is almost at the point that he's ready. We'll just check with Nathan. Nathan, how close are you to doing your next bit?
I am less than 20 seconds away.
Okay, you got 20 seconds for that video.
Okay, I hope so. The thing is, then I'll play the ingredients and the other ingredient and the other details of it.
When you share a video, you've got to click over the little bit on the. There's a little signal about playing the sound as well. Okay. When you go to share,
with the sound of.
We're not hearing the video if it's got sound on it.
Okay, I'll stop the sound and then I'll play the video. Okay.
No. It's more of a case of include the sound, but you've got to before you share it. There's a little slide bar on the left-hand side of your screen in Teams. You've got to push that across to say play the sound or include the sound.
Yeah, it's there. It's already enabled.
Okay, go for it. Go on then, play it. Let's see what we're going to learn. Okay. Okay, so I can see some sort of hopper and then lots of chilies going in.
Yes, what you need to do first is grinding this chili. You can easily take chili powder.
Okay.
Make it tasty.
Right. I'll tell you what, let's stop that there. But can you give us the link to that YouTube so that we can share it with other people? Right. You know, if you put it in the channel for us in the chat, and then we can all go and see it later on, because the things we weren't actually hearing the sound. Okay, so if you can put it there, because that you know, I'm sorry, that interests me. I like food as well, in case you hadn't realised. But yeah, if you put that there, we can share it. What I was picking up on, though, that a couple of people have mentioned that jackfruit curries are also in their country as well.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, the jackfruit itself, a fascinating fruit to see it growing, etc. But I think we're at a point where Nathan is ready to show us.
Yep.
And I'm also going to annoy him because I'm going to ask questions while he's doing it as well.
All right, I like the challenge. Let's do it.
Okay. Good. Nathan, over to you. Show us what we got to do.
First things first, if you're making sushi with nori, there's two sides to it. There's a shiny side that you can see there and a rough side. I don't know how well the camera can pick it up. You want to put the rice on the rough side so it has a nice surface to stick on. So here I have 150 grams of cooked rice, which has been seasoned with vinegar, a little bit of salt and some sugar. And that gives it a really nice, sweet, quite rich taste. Then I'm going to do it the traditional way. Wet my hands with some water and push it out until I've got around 2 rice grains thick of rice coating the bottom maybe 4/5 to 5/6 of the rice sheet. And then I've got a really nice base to make the roll.
Okay. Is it just ordinary water, or have you got some lemon juice in that water, or you got a bit of vinegar in that water?
I don't. It's just ordinary water. Okay. So I'm quite pleased with how that is now. It's very rough. I normally use a spatula, but I left it. So we'll have to just go with it. This is the traditional way anyway. All right. Next we'll go with cucumber, nicely sliced julienne style. I like it a little bit thicker than julienne because it's a little bit more toothsome and more interesting to bite. I think this time we're gonna go with corn mayo, Japanese family style. Just layer that on. Not too much because otherwise it'll explode out the sides, but you want enough to have a really nice satisfying bite.
Can you define what you mean by corn mayo? Because I think I know what it is, but it'd be nice for you to define it so I'm absolutely sure I've got it right.
Sure. So it's just super sweet corn with like get sweet corn from a tin, as sweet as you can find it, with some mayonnaise, mix it together, and that's it. Nice and simple.
But we're not talking salad cream. We're talking proper mayonnaise, aren't we?
Proper mayo. I make the mayo at home so I can keep the costs down, which I can push onto the customers. But yeah, yeah, homemade mayo is the best anyway. So now that I'm ready here, I've got.
Sorry, just going back to the mayo, just before you move on. This mayo, is it sort of like 50-50 or a third sweet corn to the mayo? What's your mix?
It's to taste generally.
Just to taste. Okay.
I like it a little bit more mayo-y, as you can see, but lots of people prefer less. Like my girlfriend, she prefers less mayo. So it all depends on you.
Fine, that's all right. Just wanted to check because I couldn't see any sweet corn bits in there, so I just trying to work out what it was.
Yeah, sorry, it is a little bit mayo-y. Maybe if I
think it's a camera as well. It's very we're fading out in places, but that's fine. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so now just in this is actually a traditional rice measuring cup and sake drinking cup, which is the traditional Japanese alcohol. They used to use these as measurements for rice. I'm just using it today to hold the water so I can seal the maki closed. So I just want to get my fingertips a little bit wet and run it along the rim of that. Just a little bit is enough because you don't want it too wet, otherwise it won't stick. Then pick up the base of the rice, bring it over, just to get the form right, like that. Then I bring the mat across, over, and push it closed. This is something that you're going to have to learn just from experience, because you don't want too much pressure and you don't want too little. If it's too much, all the rice will stick together. It won't be appetizing. But if it's too loose, you won't be able to get nice clean cuts. So a little bit pressure across. Sorry, I'll use this hand. And then you're left with this cigar with a little bit of rice, and then the sushi roll. Bring it across, over, just to get the nice form. Boom, like that. Across. A little bit of pressure again, like we did. Sorry. This way. And then roll like that, just to make it nice and cylindrical. You're going to have bits of falling out, particularly if you like extra mayo. So I'm just going to knock that off.
Fair enough. These things happen.
Then we've got the roll ready to cut. Get a nice sharp knife, as sharp as you can get it. Wet it. Cut in the middle.
Marwa, could I ask you to drop your video for us, please? Thank you.
If you want nice clean cuts, cut it after every slice, though it's obviously not necessary. These are the off bits, but they're just as delicious.
I was going to say, that's a chef special, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I call it the chef tax. So
the chef tax.
That's what I get. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, we're making some nice new sushi here. So, is there any ceremony when I go to eat it?
So, actually, yeah, there is. If you go to a real traditional Japanese sushi restaurant, the name they have names for everything, and the style evades me now. Sorry, the name evades me, but that will be a very, very small restaurant with a few sushi chefs all spending all day preparing all the ingredients, and they'll make it in front of you. It's very formal in those restaurants. They'll even have a special type of rice wine that'll accompany specific types of sushi. It's all very rhythmic and practiced and ritualistic for the sushi makers, the sushi chefs to make. They have specific numbers of movements. I think it's 4 movements to make the nigiri, and then each one has a specific name. It's all really, really ritualistic, the traditional one.
So can I become a sushi chef in a week? Or is it a couple of weeks or a year? How long does it take?
So if you want to make pretty what I think if I show this to a real sushi chef in Japan, they'd probably have a heart attack. But if you want to be a real Japanese sushi chef, they only let you wash rice for the first 7 years. So you'll do nothing but wash the rice. So if you want to do anything more specific, you have to stay there and watch, and the apprenticeship is really long. So they're really, really serious about it there in Japan.
Yeah, that 7 years of washing rice, that's being very serious. Very serious indeed. Wow.
Right. So that's one finished plate, which I'll be giving to my mum.
Right. So we got some.
So this is the gari ginger wasabi paste and corn mayo sushi with cucumber julienne. Here you go.
Right. When we were talking earlier, I asked you about ceremony and such, right? And you did say to me there was something I had to say after every. Well, no, was it after every bite or before having the meal at all?
It's before having the meal. It's different to different people. Some Japanese people will say it before every bite. Like so, it might be traditional in a very classy Japanese restaurant where they make it in front of you. You might say "itadakimasu" before every bite. That's because there's normally some time in between each course, and so it's kind of like how long is a piece of string. If it's been long enough in between the bites of food, then you say "itadakimasu."
We've actually got an interesting question just popped up, which is saying basically, is it a main meal? And what is the real difference between maki and hand rolls?
So a hand roll, maki is hand roll. So in Japanese, maki means roll. Oh, they might mean temaki, which is a hand roll, which I'll make later. But it depends on which country you're from. Some people will call this style a hand roll instead of maki. Some people will call it temaki, which is the cone style, which I'll show you. That literally means hand roll in Japanese. So that's a cone. There's a little bit more. And going back to the other question, it's sometimes eaten as a starter. With my girlfriend's family, they would eat it frequently, maybe 2 or 3 times a week before a main meal. For dinner, for example, her grandfather loves just the sashimi, which is just the raw fish, and he'd just eat that. So it depends on the person, but I would say typically with your average Japanese household, it'll be snack before a meal.
Right. Okay.
So this one I'm going to show you. It's nice and easy. This is my experimental recipe. It's just bacon and cream cheese. Not very out of this world, but it really suits Western tastes, and it's really, really delicious. And I'm going to try and show you how to make it without any mat. So it's
I've got a question here, and I'm not sure what this is, but do you know kimbap? Now, is that a person or is that some food?
I believe it's some food. I've heard of it. I can't remember. It might be Korean. If someone in the chat knows, and if they can correct me, that would be great. But
well, that would make sense to me, because that's why I asked, was it somebody? Because I have a friend called Kimbap.
Oh, really?
Right, okay. and that's why looking at it, I thought, is it him or is it food? Hang on, what is similar to sushi? Right, there we go. Korean sushi. There we go. Wonderful.
There are some interesting differences between Korean style, from what I've heard. I've never been to Korea, but there are some interesting differences between the Korean tastes. So in terms of the fish quality, it's obviously the same. They're all after the highest quality. However, with this one type of maki, which is the fat rolls, they're called futomaki. I think it's a Japanization. If someone in the chat can correct me.
Sounds good.
Yeah, then that, it's normally they try and make it as big as possible. And with the sushi chefs in Korea, it seems like a common thing to try and see who can make the biggest, fattest futomaki, who can fit the most in. So that's some differences. But
so what are you putting in there?
Now this is bacon. It's extra thick cut. Well, this one is at least smoked bacon. I accept nothing less. Okay. But obviously, if you don't eat bacon, obviously you don't need to put any bacon inside.
You could put chicken.
Yeah, chicken, for example, or
We're in Wales. It should be lamb.
yeah. That's a good idea. Right, I might put that on the menu. All right.
It
So
would make sense, wouldn't it, in Wales?
so this is just cream cheese
Tuna. Yeah.
in a
Yeah,
bag.
tuna. Sorry.
Just gonna get a nice layer of cream cheese down. Try and make it as neat as possible. Who doesn't love bacon? Who doesn't love cream cheese? Am I right? Okay. A little bit more. Okay, there we go.
So we're definitely seeing the rolls and such like, but what's Japanese finger sushi? How would you describe that?
Well, I think you might mean nigiri. All sushi is originally meant to be eaten with your hand. Actually, that's the traditional way of eating it. Because with a really expensive Japanese restaurants, the nigiri style, which is like the pen that I have, that the warmth of your hand is supposed to give extra flavor to the rice. So that's it's just a more elegant. It's less elegant, but it's more elegant for the Japanese for the Japanese people, because it gives a more refined flavor. But if you mean nigiri, that's really, really difficult to make. I can't make it really well because it requires a certain amount of pressure, which gives a certain amount of aeration, which changes the flavor, very specific temperatures for the rice. The fish has to be colder than the rice, and to sell that commercially or to make it commercially is very, very difficult without a brick-and-mortar restaurant.
So it's not done in a mold, then it's actually done in a person's hand, traditionally.
Yeah. So traditionally, I don't know why the resident Googler has been laughing at me, but anyway, traditionally it's made by hand, but with the advent of machines, there's these machines that can make hundreds and hundreds of not perfect, but perfect for packaging little rice balls that you could then have a machine lay a piece of fish on top and sell it in packaging. So what you'll find in a Tesco or your supermarket, that's what you'll have. It won't be made by somebody's hand. It'll be rice put into a mold and shaken up to give it a rounded edge. So
and what's the shelf life of yours? Is it sort of like a couple of days and we should have eaten it?
Oh, well,
whereas the others might be probably a few months. Well, be a month probably.
Yeah, I think well, it depends on the ingredient. Generally speaking, it's absolutely best to eat it as soon as you get it. Otherwise, you might get some mayonnaise leaching into the rice, which will affect the flavor. This, for example, bacon cream cheese, that'll last at least till the next day before the flavor starts to degrade. But so I would generally recommend eating it as soon as possible. And if not, definitely keep it refrigerated.
Right, there's an interesting, I don't know if it's a statement or a question come up, which is basically, is sushi traditionally made by men because of the temperatures of their hands? Now, I'm having a little problem with that one, because I can remember that there was always this thing about a baker, whether they're male or female, didn't matter, but it was about having cold hands, or was it warm hands to be a baker?
Well, Japanese society is pretty strict on its gender roles, and I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of that. But what I will say is that certain jobs, like being a chef, and the jobs which are typically considered, for better or for worse, the male-dominated roles, that's very present and prevalent in Japan. So, yes, typically it is made by men. I'm not familiar about the temperatures of the hands, though that very well may be a factor.
Yeah, I think I like the idea, but I think the temperature of the hand is it's from different people, and maybe it would come out with how good their sushi is. So maybe there is a bit in there about the temperature. It'd be interesting to see, in a way, a bit of research.
One thing I want to say, just because people won't necessarily have access to the map, this might be, if you want to make maki at home, you've got to sort of pay attention to this. You want to keep it really quite tight. It's a lot tighter than this one. And you got to really keep in mind putting as even a pressure as you can along the entire length. So tuck it in, keep it tight like that. Push, curl your fingers in. And then when you can, even it out. At any stage, even it out. Roll it a little bit along. Again, wet thumb just with a drop of water. 2 dips is all it takes. Roll it.
Can you see it? Okay.
Yeah, there. And now you have a really, really nice sushi roll. You really don't need the mat at all. It's just a little bit easier with the mat. And if you want to make it quicker, the mat is better. But look, I think that's just as good as the other one, personally. It just perhaps, as I said, is a little bit more difficult to make.
I'm just picking up on a different point here. The person who's saying that they can't see him cooking, I'm assuming there's something wrong with your video, or did you mean actually cooking? Because if you can't see it at the moment, we will share the video afterwards, so you'll be able to see it anyway. Okay. There we go. Keep going.
Small sawing motions is an important one. If you go with well, with a sharp knife, you can go down quickly, but I don't suppose that most people will have access to very sharp knives. So small sawing motions, being as delicate as you can. And if you make a little dent or anything, don't worry about it. The more you practice it, the better you'll be at it. The same with anything. And you get to eat all of your mistakes, which is better, right?
Lovely.
Doesn't work like that with maths or English or something. All right. Just for, I'll forget about washing it in between each time because it's just for my mum, so it's fine. No, but normally wash it every time so it's nice and beautiful and neat. I think that's beautiful anyway. Unpretentious, delicious.
Okay, I know you've got an unusual ingredient in there, and we probably describe that as a sort of like, as you said, westernized version. But how have yesterday's recipes for sushi influenced today's kitchen? How do you think they've influenced?
I think, well, obviously the vinegar and the pickling and all of that, it really ties in with lots of different types of sushi. So the more traditional styles that you'll find in cities like Osaka, you'll have more pickling going on generally. But what you would have had in Western countries would be the edomae style. There's lots of different influences. Like there's lots of history in each bite, whether it's modern or ancient, as the case with what we mentioned before, the nare sushi. You can find lots of different styles. I wish I could give you a clearer answer, but it's just not a one-trick pony with this dish. But one thing I did want to say, fish, actually, raw fish on top is a really, really recent thing for Japanese people. When they would have had these sushi and when sushi was really beginning to be popular, as I mentioned, in the Edo period, they would never have eaten raw fish because of the really short shelf lives and parasites with certain fish. They only started eating certain types of raw fish like tuna, which you could find the parasites easily in them in the early 1920s. So, for example, salmon, that wasn't eaten in Japan until the mid-90s because they strongly associated salmon, which was Pacific salmon for the Japanese, as being highly contaminated with parasites generally. So a really risky dish to eat. So the Norwegian fisheries, because they developed really efficient aquaculture for their salmon in the 1960s and 70s, 1950s through to 70s, sorry. Mm-hmm. They tried to market the salmon to the Japanese population, and it actually started becoming more and more popular and gradually more accepted. So that innovation sparked off a massive global trend where any sushi shop that you go to will almost certainly have salmon in it. So that's one thing which is which sort of demonstrates how the culture has changed. Maybe not in the exact way that you asked, but it's just a demonstration of it.
But taking that a bit further, I always think of sushi as being a very visual food. It's visually appealing, etc. Do you think that's really why we have the conveyor belts in the sushi restaurants?
Oh.
And could you explain the conveyor belt idea as well? So people see, so when next time somebody goes out there for the first time, they don't suddenly end up with an incredibly large bill. Can you explain how it really works?
So the conveyor belt system was actually, it only came about in the late 50s, early 60s for the first time. So quite a lot earlier than I originally thought it was. I'm really glad you asked that question, actually. This is a cool topic. It was originally invented by a guy who had too many customers to meet up with demand. He also couldn't find it enough of a workforce to keep up with the demand and supply them quickly. So he took inspiration from soda bottle or soda factories, where all the bottles would be coming along on a conveyor belt. So he developed this initial style, and that really led to a massive explosion of popularity for the medium. So that originally was in Japan, Tokyo, Japan, and then it was popularized throughout Japan because people loved the novelty of it and also the convenience of it. And then that inevitably leaked out with the popularization of sushi around the world. So to be careful, you have to really be careful. In Japan, the conveyor belt systems normally have different colored plates. So as long as you're not colorblind, you should be okay. It'll be like, let's say 100 yen for one certain color plate, 150 yen for another color plate. And so you just have to keep note of how many plates you have. A waitress will come over at the end and collect the plates and give you your bill. So just keep that in mind. The plates.
Can I just remind people? Oh, sorry, Roni has just put it up there as well. Can I remind you, any ideas of recipes and other things that we could share? Really welcomed. I know in my own group, we were talking earlier on about a global week where we have lots of students coming in and preparing food and sharing food. So it'd be nice to have some more recipes of food that we can share, but unique things, something that's very much, yeah, it might be a little bit difficult for me to get the ingredients, but it would be nice that I had a recipe to go to. So if you'd like to share, please do so. So you are folding up a piece of seaweed. We're making, what is it? This is the cone?
Yeah, this is the cone. I'll just do this super quickly because I'm aware of the time constraints that we got. So I will be super quick.
Nigel, maybe some of the other students also want to go on camera and talk about their food as well.
I can make this in the background. It's a bit more.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, so we've had a couple of people already show some stuff from Sri Lanka. That was really good. Can anyone share something, say, from Morocco and tell us about how you would make it? So has anyone got a favourite dish in Morocco for us?
Couscous.
Couscous. Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, come on, tell us about couscous. Couscous.
I don't know how we make couscous.
Anyone else help her out there? It involves boiling
Please,
water when I make it.
Moroccans, help me. I'm Moroccan.
We have Rafisa.
Go again.
Rafisa, it's a good one though.
Rafisa,
Tell about tagine, guys.
Go on. Tell us how to make it.
For tagine, you just take vegetables and meat and mix everything together and cook it. It's
What
like
about
a bunch
the
of things.
spices? What spices would you put in with it?
What spices do we put with tagine? I have salt, pepper,
Mm-hmm.
And Gusmaila.
That's one called the yellow one. There's this yellow herb. I don't know what it's called.
Turmeric.
Yes, that one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I have no idea. I just see my mom make it. I never made it.
But you enjoy eating it.
Yeah, and you eat it mostly with bread. Like you don't eat it with a fork and a spoon and a a knife. You take bread and you just like
Dip it and pick it up.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Yeah.
you do.
Is that more pita bread type bread, sort of unleavened bread?
I don't know. Depends. We have I mean the bread that we have. It's not like pita bread. It's like really basic bread. It's close to baguette, but you have like seeds on top of it and stuff. I don't know the words in Arabic, but like it's really common. They eat it every day here. Actually, like not every day, but everywhere, every household.
It's more of a flat bread.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But not like the tortilla flat, but flat, flat, not risen sort of thing.
That we call that afernu. It's like it's made in a mud stone. Not a mud oven. It's a traditional one, and there is like when they give it to you to eat it, you actually have to take the stones out. It's a bit it's not a bit
stones.
It's hot. Yeah.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah, that's a very, very traditional food. It's a bit thicker than tortillas bread.
Right.
And it's delicious, because you can eat it and you can actually taste the wood. It's not the wood smell,
No, but you get the charcoaly flavor coming through
yes, exactly.
Yes. No, I can go with that. Yeah.
Can I share
of course you can.
A recipe. So we have a recipe. It's called tangia. It's from Marrakesh. It's quite popular in Marrakesh. It is very delicious. The meat is so tender. It's delicious.
Is it one of those that you cook for a very long time to get the meat to tenderize?
Yeah. Yeah, they bury it on the ground.
Right. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Jane, can you move it just down the table a little bit? Yes, that's it. Thank you.
We're getting artistic with the food now. Where are you sharing that recipe, Adele?
Do I have to show it?
Well, you said you were going to share it.
I share it. Oh, yes. I was going to share it because I know the recipe in my head.
Oh, sorry. Okay. If you wouldn't mind writing it down, we'd really appreciate it. If you could put it in the general area as a file or something, we'd really appreciate that.
Okay.
And if you can provide pictures of you having cooked it tonight, that would make it even better.
Tonight? That would be quite hard.
I'm only joking.
No, it's all right. It's food. I can eat everything.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. No, so Nate. Oops. Jane, you're
People are just asking me, how does the sushi taste? It tastes amazing. Sorry about that. So I had the bacon and cream cheese. I'm now going to have the sweet corn and mayonnaise. And I believe that, so I'm going to dip it in a little bit of soy sauce and then eat it all to myself. It is fabulous.
Available only at The Drunk Cat on Facebook.
Okay. Now, I think that pretty well brings us all to the end, unless you've got other questions that you want to ask Nate. Anyone got any direct questions you'd like to ask him? Whoops. Jane, you've gone offline.
Hello.
That's all right. That's better. Sorry. Okay, first question then, Nate. Do you deliver to Belgium?
Interestingly, that isn't the first time I've been asked that question. I have a Belgian friend that lives in Leuven, and she already asked me to deliver. So when I go deliver it to her, I'll be sure to drop some more out to you guys.
Where does he need to take the stuff to Belgium for you? Is it Leuven?
No,
I thought it might be Leuven. You're like Leuven. It's a nice place.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Any other questions at all?
I do have an Instagram actually. Sorry, I can see the question. It's at the drunk cat. So it's oh sorry, not the drunk cat. It's at drunk cat takeout. Sorry for the confusion. I have posted nothing on there yet, really, but be posted for delicious looking food.
Okay. Anything else, guys? No, doesn't look like it. Anyone want to say it quickly? Come in on voice. No. Okay. Look, Nate, thank you for telling us about sushi and showing us how to make it. If I could, I'd be asking everyone to give you a round of applause. We can actually do that. If you want to turn your mics on for very quickly and start clapping.
You're most welcome. You're
See,
most
it
welcome.
works.
We're hungry now. Yes.
Okay, so you've taken us for a journey, in effect, for 1,000 years, over 1,000 years since it's. Excuse me a second, Alexa, off. Sorry, technology. Has your Alexa started working there? Right. So you've taken us for 1,000 years of a product that was a byproduct, in effect, for food preservation, and now you've taken us through to fine dining, entrees, etc. So really, thank you ever so much for your time. And I think people really need to know how you were put on the spot at the very last moment, and we really appreciate you doing this for us today.
No problem.
And I appreciate all the participation from the other people there, etc. Essentially, tomorrow we start at 7:30 again. All right. So we look forward to seeing you then. If you've had any problems related to getting online, getting to the system, etc., please remember the number one thing is to use the email address that we originally gave you, or sorry, you originally gave us. But in the meantime, once again, thank you, Nate, for everything. Thank your mother for the use of her kitchen. I hope she enjoys her food tonight, and it's a pity she can't share. But there we go. But thank you yet again.
Thanks, guys.
Rowena, do you
Thank
want to
you.
say something?
Just a massive thank you, and I'm in Pencoed. Not very far away.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Take care.
So take care all. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.